Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's show. I'm your host, Owen Rebel, back again for another interview on my show, Late Night with Rebel. So, before we begin, just a quick little reminder. If you have any questions for myself or for the guest, put !_ questions in the chat. If you have any questions about who are you interviewing, just put ! guests into the chat. Spell for chat command. Basically, links to GSGenesis' YouTube channel. You can check them out, all that good stuff. But anyway, without further ado, let's introduce our guest, GSGenesis, coming from behind the curtains. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah, of course. If you'd like to sit next to me.
Absolutely, yes. A little wonky, but it's okay. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, of course. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, I'll have to ask, is this your first time ever? Well, technically, I answered my own question. I was about to say, is this your first time being interviewed? But technically, you're interviewed in the real world, so.
Yes, that is a case I'll get to later, but yeah. So, as most of you know who play VR chat, I am a game show pioneer for VR chat because I've recreated since 2018 various game show sets that you usually see on TV.
Well, absolutely, yeah. So, what are some of those game shows that you've actually created for those who don't know?
I've created ones like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, Family Feud, Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, Press Your Luck, Match Game, just to name a few. I was too many off the top of my head to list.
Okay. So, well, let's start from the beginning in terms of how did you actually get into VR chat? Like before all of that, before 2018, how did you end up getting into VR chat?
Long story, basically, there were some friends who were playing the game back in 2017 that I knew from a little friend group for a couple of years through Steam and Skype and Discord later on. I noticed that, it's a pretty interesting game. I'll try it out. See, because I had a MacBook Pro and I was experimenting with it with the Windows Boot Camp for quite a while. And when I heard about VR chat being Windows 11, I was like, maybe I can do something with this. And the story behind that was the game show stuff is a long story, but it really means a lot to me. So back in 1998, my mother appeared on Jeopardy as a contestant.
Yeah.
And she was leading by 100 hours going to the final round. There is a story online that chronicles a lot more about this and what I do recently, which may be linked at some point, but I may share it later on.
Sure.
But she didn't win the game, but it inspired me to create my own game show works at school.
Okay.
And needless to say, I was not treated well in school because I was a special needs person.
Okay.
But eventually they got more praise around college because I was with new people that were more praising of the work. And then when I heard about VR chat, what you can do is maybe I should try recreating a game show set in that game. And needless to say, here we are.
Damn. No, that's fair. I mean, for example, I've done YouTube for 10 years, though I haven't made a video in many years, but I started when I was 17. That was 10 years ago. I'm 27 now. And that was in 2012 when I started. And when I started doing YouTube in high school in my senior year, a lot of people didn't like that. My immediate friend group thought it was stupid. They're like, why are you wasting your time? So I understand when people are like, bro, why are you wasting your time? Why are you doing this game show stuff? You know what I mean? So I understand when you make content and then people don't appreciate it. But when I started getting it, when I was in college, people were like, oh, that's cool. Or they're just like, all right. It's more like mature people were more supportive or just understanding of what I was doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. I get you. So, okay, so that's how you got into VR chat and how you got into game shows and stuff like that. So, how did you end up becoming a world creator? Was it something you've always wanted to do when you first started playing VR chat, or is it something that someone asked you to do, or you fell into it? What's the story behind making worlds?
That is a long story, but I can abbreviate it, fortunately. There's an app I use, and I've always used, called Trimble SketchUp. It used to be Google SketchUp till the license transferred. Okay. And it's a 3D modeling application that a lot of people I know have used, like the person who made the McDonald's world used it originally. Okay. Who I know, actually, on the game.
Yeah.
And I've used that app for quite a few years before VR chat, and I figured, let me think, what can I do with this, with the game show stuff? And I just experimented with 3D modeling shapes using a pencil, extrusion tools, and follow tools. If you know SketchUp, you know it well. you have those like little tools. You can like draw the shapes you want, extrude them however you want along the faces. It's like a simpler version of Blender, like a more free style version.
Okay. I get
But
you.
with that, when I exported my work, I was like, how can I do this? And I figured out how to use the SDK pretty quickly. And I started with a relatively unknown show called Second Chance, which is actually the 6-year predecessor to Press Your Luck, which you know, the Big Bucks No Whammy show. It was a very short-lived show on TV, but it was the first one I ever tried to design.
Okay.
And people loved it. And eventually I did Jeopardy! And made those worlds public. And I've done other works over time, experience with different console formats, different gameplays, different variants.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So it's constant from the start.
Okay. And what got you inspired and interested into Jeopardy? Was it something you watched when you were a kid, or was it because, like you said, your mom was on Jeopardy? You know, how did that story go? Was it something you've always had throughout your entire life, or is it something that you're like, wow, I really like, you know, watching this show and other game shows?
It's a combination of both. So with the aspect of my mother being on Jeopardy,
Yeah.
I watched a lot of the early 2000s versions of shows like Millionaire, Family Feud and Syndication, Wheel of Fortune, the as you know, Jeopardy, and Price is Right when Bob Barker was still hosting. I remember vaguely what that looked like back in the day, probably around the time Roy was doing his last show. But those really intrigued me in how people have fun, how much they can win, and the style of each set looks very unique and nice.
Yeah. I mean, I watch game shows, not as probably as much as you have, but like I do enjoy it, you know. Do you mind if I ask how old you are? I'm just curious.
I'm 23 and going to be turning 24 in June.
Oh, I'm older than you? Okay. All right. I understand now.
Yeah, believe it or not.
Yeah, I was like, well, I thought, damn, okay. Because I'm turning 28 in June, so yeah, I'm getting up there. I'm going to be getting closer to 30, you know. But that's interesting, yeah, because like I remember as a kid, I remember watching just like, well, they have it now, like the Game Show Network, which has all the reruns of like every game show and stuff like that. Or I remember as a kid, because I'm Canadian, so I remember watching like, oh man, what was it called? Oh god, it was like a kids like game show, like Slimed or something like that, or no, it's called that's what it was, where basically you would ask like little like trivia questions, and then you get to this like pit, and you have to answer the questions right, or this like guy like he looks like the Punisher, and he'll like slime you, just little kid stuff like that. Yeah.
So like you see on Nickelodeon almost, because Nickelodeon had their fair share of game shows as well.
Yeah. Really something like that, yeah. So it was a good time. And then, you know, and then as I got older, I started watching more of the mature stuff. So I started watching, like, I don't know, I just like Family Feud the most. Because, like, it's just something, like, anybody can get into. And, like, I end up, like, yelling at the screen and be like, I know the answer, bro. It's so obvious. Like, why would you say that? You know, like, come on. So, yeah. Because I remember sitting down because where I ate dinner wasn't at the dinner table. It was downstairs in the rec room on my couch, and then we have like little trays. You just put your dinner on and just eat and watch TV. That's what I typically did. And when I would do that, I would just sit there eat, and then my brother would turn on the Game Show Network, and then we would just watch Family Feud or whatever. And then my dad would come down to watch, and I don't know, we started like really watching like Steve Harvey all the time, like every day religiously. So yeah, it was a good time.
Steve Harvey's a very iconic host for the modern day Family Feud. It's really good, especially with the humor and the style of it. It looks nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
it's pretty hilarious.
Yeah. Like he's been doing it for so long. I don't know how they're going to replace him. I feel because I've watched like a documentary about it, and you know the original hosts, some of them were not comedians. They were pure just actors. Like that was it. Like they they just sort of showed up, did their bit, and then left. Well, you know, Family Feud started picking up more when Steve Harvey, who's a comedian, decided to start running the show, and people started catching on to it. And then obviously YouTube started blowing up around the same time, and you can watch like almost like entire episodes with Steve Harvey on there on YouTube, because he knows, he's like, this is going to end up on YouTube, like I know it, and it gets like millions of views. So obviously it
always does.
Yeah, absolutely. So, So what can you tell me? Is there any like game shows you're working on for the future? Like right now, any next game shows you want to work on or update or anything like that?
That is a tough question, but I'll do my best to answer that. So I'm actually trying to update a lot of worlds that are still SDK 2, like Second Chance and Sail the Century. I had to take down Hitman because of its lack of progress and lack of updated ability.
Okay.
If that's even a word.
Okay.
But so that one's gone. But I also am thinking about, I updated Press Your Luck a Millionaire frequently, trying to add more content. But one show that's actually not a show actually that I'm working on is a 5-year anniversary adventure world, something like that.
Okay, an adventure world. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna be like like this Banjo-Kazooie style quest that takes place across all the worlds I've ever made.
Oh.
And like abbreviated versions built into one place. We have to perform little challenges based on each show I've made, like Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune, or even the 2 original shows I have, like Gauntlet and Impersonator Detectives. And when you complete a challenge, you get a puzzle piece, like in Banjo-Kazooie, and you have to put it on a big board and put the puzzle together. When that is completed, you get a special surprise.
Oh, nice. Heck yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited for that. So
yeah,
I was doing
shows. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to hear what you're saying. What's going on?
All good, yeah. But a couple other shows that are currently private but able to be played are, one is called To Tell the Truth, which is a identification game that is a by appointment only though because of its custom format.
Okay.
And I also have, what was that one? I had Countdown 82, which is based on one of my friend's creations. This a more nostalgic version, but both work very well. And of course, my friends made the modern one first. But other than that, I don't know what else I'm working on other than just updating stuff.
Okay. I also was doing some digging and I saw that on your YouTube channel you actually made a short film called Forbidden Fruit. How did that come about?
Basically, it was like a challenge to do like a kind of a film chronologically, or not chronology, but kind of emphasizing what we go through. It was for a film festival for a friend.
Yep.
And it basically was a challenge to see how I could express a certain emotion in a certain way and like chronicle its like impact on other people and how we as humans can cope with this stuff and get help.
I see. Yes, I watched it. I was like, damn. I was like, this is actually a pretty decent like little film project, you know? I was like, damn, I didn't know GSGenesis was making films now. You know, when's part 2? You know, we need some other films at some point.
Yeah. And on that note, I'm trying to branch out my film kind of making process with have you heard of the show You Can't Do That on Television on Nickelodeon? Or even CGOH back in before it aired there?
No, but you can explain it.
Basically, it was like a kid's sitcom, like Saturday Night Live for kids. It was a bunch of skits, recurring gags. It actually spawned the Nickelodeon slime that would become a staple of its marketing and its branding. Whenever someone said, I don't know, or something like that, the slime would fall from the sky and land on them. The green slime.
Oh, okay.
It was a really funny show. I encourage people to look it up, and it's on Paramount Plus as well. But that show, I'm trying to make a parody based in VR chat with a set and a style, like kind of like the original, but not quite. But yeah, so that's what I'm also working on because I want to try and branch out and do other stuff as well, like reality or sitcom style stuff besides my game show usual. But the game show stuff is still going to be a staple of my work.
Okay, I get you. So obviously you're known for like game shows. Ever thought about expanding beyond that to do like you just said, like sitcoms? You know, like I know like Whose Line Is It Anyway is like very popular, more of like improv-y, silly games like that. You know, that involve more of the audience.
That is a tough question, actually. I never thought about that, but that's gonna be tough to answer. But I have thought about doing other projects as well, like games in general, or little custom projects like hubs.
Yeah.
But that hasn't really crossed my mind. My mind's been always obsessed with the game show format. But again, the new concepts like the You Can't Do That on Television parody and the other worlds I've made should really kind of broaden my influence, I guess, and like expand my horizons.
I gotcha. Yeah, like the reason why I gave that idea is because I see a lot of games in VR chat in terms of like Murder and Draw My Thing or whatever it's called. Like, those are the types of games I see always on the top. I'm just trying to give you an idea of like, hey, or like the newest one, because I interviewed Dinky, the last person I interviewed. He made Gun 'Em Down, which is like Call of Duty VR basically, and he made like a Ruby map as well, and those are pretty popular. So I'm just saying, like, if you want to like really be like, that's GSGenesis, like, damn, that's a really cool thing, you got to start thinking of like very simplistic ideas for like a little game show. It could just be literally just Pictionary, you know, and people have fun with that, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You to pick up and play.
Yeah, pick up and play. Because a lot of game shows, the ones that you run and other people, is that it's a lot of moving parts. And so I think a lot of people kind of get a little like, what do you call it, like overwhelmed, because they're
turned away.
Yeah, turned away, overwhelmed, because they're just kind of like, damn, this is a lot of moving parts. I need a lot of people to be able to do Family Feud. I guess Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is a lot more condensed because it's just 2 people and then everybody else in the audience and stuff like that. So that one's probably a lot easier to run compared to other shows where like you need a lot of people to you know, be able to be part of the production, be able to you know be good for TV and stuff like that. It's very difficult, because I wanted to do game shows at one point in VR chat in this studio. Like, I wanted to do my own stuff, but I realized that it's very difficult to convince people to show up and then act, and then having a lot of moving parts and stuff like that. So I decided to focus more on doing interviews and VTubing instead, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so were you ever inspired by other world creators or game developers while playing in VR chat?
It's not really something I usually thought about, but in a sense I was kind of inspired by like some other people I knew at one point. Mm-hmm. But it was mostly my own development with that. Like, I kind of took cues from my passion for the genre.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of drove me forward.
Okay.
I never really thought about being inspired or influenced by others.
Makes sense, because like, I don't know, are you part of like, or ever talk to any like the prefabs people in VR chat?
I do not, unfortunately.
Okay, because like that would be a good place for you to like showcase something. So what I mean by that is, so every Sunday, the prefabs community is basically a bunch of world creators. They basically make like, you know, hangouts, worlds, whatever, and it's always filled up. Always have like 80 people every single time to do an event. They're all very nice, you know, and essentially it's a good way to like test a world. So if you want to test something or to show off something, like, hey, I made this really cool, you know, I made Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you know, they'll be like, wait, that's really cool, let's check it out. And they're all about programming, and there are excellent amount of people that also can offer assistance and help. Like, this world was made by Legends VR, who's part of that community 3 years ago. So basically he got to show off this world and stress test it in terms of like having a lot of players in the world and stuff like that. So it gave me a lot of insight and also a lot of resources and prefabs to put into the world. Like, I have a moderation tool that's for player pooling, so it allows me to be able to like, you know, teleport people and broadcast your voice and things like that. So all that came from just talking to people and getting to know other creators.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a recommendation. You don't have to, but it's always just something I like to reach out and tell people, especially world creators, because if you ever need help, those are the people to talk to. They're very, very nice. They're all like, you know, big brain people that do all these crazy stuff. But my next question is, do you have a favorite episode of a game show? Like, is there like one defining moment of a game show, like Jeopardy or Pressure Luck or anything? Like, that's my favorite episode. I can always rewatch it.
That's a tough one, but it would have to be a tie between the IBM Watson episodes and the Michael Larson episodes of Press Your Luck. Those have a lot of rewatchability. Because the story with Michael Larson, who appeared on the show in 1984, there's a story behind what he does on the show. Because on the original Press Your Luck game, back in 83 and 84, going to 86, there were 5 preset patterns originally of lights that chased around the board among its squares. And Michael Larson memorized them all by slowing the tapes down, recording the show. And you figure out that the lights came on in a very specific pattern among those 5, and you just stopped the button at the right time to keep racking up spins and cash to win over 100,000. And the show lasted about an hour, and they had to divide it into 2 episodes. And And it was caused a lot of controversy among CBS when they originally figured out what he did.
Yeah.
But eventually they found out that like this isn't our fault and it's not his fault, but basically like this just happened. And we have to really comply with giving him the money.
Yeah, I remember watching that documentary on YouTube, and he won all the money, and then they had to change their rules after that, and then now it's like completely or it's like it's so many patterns you couldn't remember unless like you're Superman or something.
Yeah,
like
32 patterns. Yeah.
Yeah, they made it
now
way
with,
harder. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was Whammy and the Press Luck and ABC, it's completely computer generated.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he went on to make a bunch of money from the show, and then I heard like he just became bankrupt like later on, like he just gambled it and tossed it around. So
in a sense, yeah, he also was robbed and involved in internet schemes, kind of the first internet scandals of that time, and eventually it kind of came back to bite him.
Yeah. Well, you said the other one was Jeopardy, right? Who was the guy from?
Yes, the IBM Watson episodes.
Okay, yeah. What's that about Watson? Like, what's the story behind that one?
Watson was a IBM supercomputer, and to demonstrate its technological power, it appeared on Jeopardy when Alex Trebek was still hosting back in, I think, 2009.
Yeah.
And Ken Jennings and Brad Rutter, two iconic Jeopardy champions, appeared on the show on either side of Watson, who sat in the center, just a little avatar of him.
Yeah.
And they competed, and Watson overwhelmed the competition.
Damn.
I love watching that one.
Supercomputers. I remember watching The Price is Right. Ever watched that one?
I like Price is Right, actually, yes. I thought about doing it in this game, but I figured it'd be too much work because I do all the modeling and the compile myself.
Yeah. There's actually technically a version of it kind of in VRChat called Price Check, which is basically kind of like
Price Guess, yeah.
Yeah, Price Guess, that's what it was. Which is basically kind of like a dumbed down version of The Price is Right, which is interesting because there is a documentary I watched about Price is Right where this guy, like, he knew all the answers. Like, it's the same thing. Like, he just studied a catalog and knew the price of like everything, and so whenever he would go up or like someone he knew that was around him, he would just tell them the answers, and they're just like, wait, this guy's cheating. How does he know this boat's like exactly $24,405? But he just knew. He just, he studied, It's not cheating if you just have a big brain, memory. He's like a mathematician.
Yeah, when he got his showcase bit exactly right, and Drew had to be informed that before the final bit, it was like, oh my god. And like Drew was like, well, how did this happen? But apparently those last three numbers on his showcase bit were just pure coincidence. It was just he just used them at random, and he just happened to be exactly right. It was like a stroke of luck and also a bit of knowledge.
Yeah.
But one notable scandal in recent years dates back to the Charles Ingram scandal on Millionaire, the British Millionaire. That is a big one.
Sorry, I was taking a drink. What's the deal with that scam? The British Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Basically, Charles Ingram appeared on the show on September 10th, 2001, and it was taped then, but they didn't air it.
Okay.
But what happened was he had his wife and a friend of his appear on the show before, and basically there was a lot of coughing from his wife and a friend in the audience.
Oh, right. Yeah.
To help him, supposedly to help him get the right answers, and he won the million, but he wasn't able to get it later on because they found out what he did. There's a documentary drama about it called Quiz, which aired in 2020, which was actually adapted from a stage play.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's one of the big ones.
Yeah, there's also the fictional movie Slumdog Millionaire, which is about who wants to be a millionaire. I think it was in India or something. And like the whole story, he just like, they're like, how does this like random kid like know every answer? It's because like every question that just happens to be something that happened in his life. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because Celador actually was producing that film, who owned Millionaire at the time, which is a fun fact.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And then, of course, there's the first millionaire ever in the world, John Carpenter, who used none of his lifelines. Then went on the millionaire question, he was the first person in the world to do it. Mm-hmm. And he used his phone friend to call us and say, I don't need your help, I'm gonna win the $1 million, and then give the right answer.
That was like the GigaChat move. He was just like, yeah, I'm gonna win, just to let you know.
Yeah.
What if he didn't though? What if he got it wrong and just be like, oh, whoops.
Yeah, I know, that was a really big bum moment.
Yeah, it would have been, but no, he has balls of steel, so he clearly knew what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. What do you think is? Because I noticed a lot of game shows. Some of them, like you only win like $500 or $1,000, but there's like some game shows where you win like $1 million, like Deal or No Deal. Like, some of them I think have a little more luck, and some of them is just completely RNG. Like, what do you think about that in terms of a game show?
Those really kind of surprised me on how you gotta like pay attention, because I know Deal or No Deal is one of the shows I got a lot of requests for. I'll see about doing it at some point.
Yeah.
But I gotta work a lot more on it. But that show really intrigues me because of this temptation and this like trying to go for lower values and trying to resist the banker.
Yeah.
Make the right choices, and it's all about temptation, greed, and just playing all the downright guts of the contestant.
That's
so
right.
I've already seen an episode recently where the person took the offer, but apparently there was a lot more in the case, and the offers went up after they already took the deal. So it really kind of like adds insult to injury for that, and that's kind of a thing they do, like how Mendel did on the show.
Yeah, of course. They're just like, what happens if you click this case, and what kept on going? Oh, you could have won 200,000 more. Whoops. Isn't there
it's like a weird thing.
Maybe you know this more than me, but isn't there like a rule or a law where like if you win lottery money or like game show winnings, you have to pay some of that in taxes?
That's true. Yes, that's absolutely true.
No, how much is
especially
that?
in California?
How much is the
I think it's like around 30%. I think. I don't know for sure though.
That's gotta suck. Like you win $1 million. Like actually, no, you win 700,000. It's like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. But you just get most of it, which is a good thing, I guess.
That's also true. Yeah.
Then the prizes. I don't know if the prizes are taxable, but I guess about that.
Yeah, there's definitely some interesting thing because I don't think that happens in Canada. I can't remember because like, well, we have like lotteries and like, but the lottery in Canada is only like. Well, only 30 million, but I think in the United States it's like 300 million. But
I think Powerball's reached like $1 billion at one point and was won quite a bit.
That's crazy. No, we never had something. I think the highest we had was like 300 million, something like that. But I guess you get to keep most of it in Canada. It's just the way it works. But it's interesting how game shows do that sort of stuff. But yeah, like you mentioned it, Deal or No Deal. That's another I watched a lot of. And just definitely interesting to see. It would be interesting to see how it plays out in VR chat. You would have to have some sort of RNG where like it randomizes what's in the cases every time you play somehow.
Yeah, there is a sim I did for Jeopardy about that, so I can do something like that if I figured it out properly for Deal or No Deal.
Or I guess if you knew Udon, it would probably help out there too, like the programming stuff. The only aesthetic thing is the only aesthetic thing is you have to have someone play the banker, and then you have to have 26 models. You have to you have all these quirky mutes or something like that. Holding up the cases. That'd be interesting. NPCs.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, maybe little hologram avatars. I don't know. I'll think about it.
It could just be you in a dress, and be 26 of you. There you go. Yeah, anything's possible. Right. Yeah, or I don't know, like for example, you run like game shows for the Gator community, like Rob's community. So how's that been going for you?
It's been going pretty well. He's really kind of appreciating what I've been doing with the game show stuff. He likes Pressure Luck a lot, like blown away. Millionaire is another one he likes. Jeopardy we don't do too much because I've been trying to fix that one up for a bit.
Yeah.
But then there's also what else is there?
Family Feud.
I don't remember what else I did for him. Yeah, Family Feud, Super Password is another one we did a couple times. But it's mostly been either Pressure Luck or Millionaire, like either or, because those are both worlds I know the best.
Okay.
And they're easy to pick up and play for us.
Yeah. I think he seems to enjoy it a lot. It seems like it's also funny when just his community, like you have to explain the rules all the time, and it's a good time. It seems sometimes people have interesting little funny moments. But as long as you're having fun, that's what matters.
Yeah, I do have fun. I have fun all the time when I do these shows. Because also habits I have, including saying certain words, and they turn it into an emote at one point on Rob's stream. I was like, what the heck are you guys doing?
I mean, that just means you're part of the stream, That just means you're,
Exactly.
He is...
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. So they drew my avatar face like doing like this weird like face, like a very disappointed look.
Yeah, suffer.
As a emote. Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah.
I think the keyword is goodness because I say that all the time when something weird happens. Like it's a habit I have.
That just means you're a proper person, you know. I think
exactly. Yeah.
You know that Rob's running like RP tryouts. If you wanted to brush up on your RP skills, you can always join and do some RP.
We'll see.
You could try out. You know, you can submit your film and say, "Hey, I want to join your RP lobby." You know, become a role player. You know, just saying.
Yep.
So, my next question is, so I think during that the video showed me when I was giving you a tour. So, you actually are wearing the same outfit that Alex Trebek wears. I think in Jeopardy. Which episode is that from, or what year and stuff?
Yeah, that's actually quite an interesting story because I was avatar. Originally it was like a slightly dark gray, but I changed it on the avatar to be like the suit I got from Alex Trebek's estate, which cost about $600, and all the proceeds went to the American Cancer Society.
Oh, nice.
And the suit was used on show episode 8282, which was taped on the September 9th, 2020, and aired on November 17th, 2020. Which was 9 days after he passed away.
Damn, that's interesting. So you only had to pay $600 for a suit. That seems like quite the steal. If I'm
it was like half off on sale because they weren't selling.
Oh, okay.
It was a special offer through eBay. So yeah, they're all on eBay. They're cheaper now, but yeah, people can, and they have a certificate of authenticity too, which is very nice. And a tag on the sleeve, saying when it was used and when it aired.
Do you keep
so that shows it because it was the closest one to his final show.
Yeah. Do you keep it always nice and like steamed and all ready to go, and make sure that's like?
Yep.
Yeah, nice. Heck yeah! I don't even have a suit, so you have that over me, you know. Do you have multiple suits?
Oh. I have a replica of Peter Tomarkin's first suit from Press Your Luck, which is the green and dark blue like tartan jacket, like the Scotch plaids almost.
Yeah.
I have that, and what else do I have? I think that's about it in terms of replica suits.
Okay.
And game show style suits. I just have a bunch of it's mainly blazers that are weird colors and stuff like that.
I see. Because I've always been told I need to get a suit. You always should have one suit in your closet, you know, for a funeral or wedding or whatever. I don't, but I should at some point. Just buy one suit.
Oh, yeah, actually, it reminds me. I also have a replica of Regis Philbin's suit. A replica, keep in mind, from the John Carpenter episode when he won the million. It's not the same suit, but it looks very close to it.
Ah, okay.
Complete with the dark colors. Yeah.
Is it because like you're a fan, or like what's the appeal of like having a replica or buying the actual suit? Is it just like nostalgic, or being like, hey, this is the same suit that Alex Trebek wore, or this contestant, and I wanted to just sort of dress up like them, or?
Well, it's those two reasons plus another, because I'm doing these locally now for local senior centers, and that we mentioned later on the story.
Yeah.
But that is more or less just to kind of give variation to what I wear at these events. I wear this suit almost all the time at the events.
Yeah.
Just to really kind of unify my look and my branding among real life and virtual.
Yeah.
But I might experiment with doing other suits at some point, especially when I do the original show I'm working on for the senior centers.
I gotcha. If you ever did Family Feud, I guess you gotta buy some of Steve Harvey's, unless you want to replicate some of the other hosts. He's got his own suit. He's got his own suits. You know, you gotta buy his ties. You know.
Yeah.
Yep. That's right. I know that Steve Harvey always has a thing with like putting the dent inside the tie. He's always very a stickler for that. You know.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so sometimes he'll like adjust people's ties. Well, he's like, that's not how you do a tie. I'll show you how to do a tie. So he puts like the little like accent in the tie, stuff, a little fancy thing.
You have?
Yeah, a little bit, but okay. So you obviously mentioned it since talking about like helping out senior homes and running Jeopardy. So how did that come about? Was it something that you always wanted to do, or is it just like, oh, an opportunity arises, I can host Jeopardy? You know, how did that story come about?
It's kind of both.
Okay.
So basically, I heard that there was something happening. Some local friends referred me to a senior center in my town that wanted to do fun events, and I happened to have a classroom Jeopardy unit from 2010 at the time, and I still do. It's kind of falling apart though for functionality, but it still works.
Yeah.
Just some buttons aren't working. But when I did that for my local senior center, they loved it, and I actually got paid a little bit of money.
Oh, nice.
To do the event there. Then I began branching out to other centers across town, in neighboring towns, and then for one town, I reached out to my local CBS affiliate who happens to air Jeopardy in my area. Mm-hmm. And we asked them if they're interested in taping the event for the local news in the future, and they said sure. So they came down. They sent a local reporter to videotape the event I did for that town.
Yeah.
I wore the same suit. I had everything with me, and I got interviewed. My mother got interviewed because of her episode.
Yeah.
And it aired back in March, which is a very nice little story that I encourage people to see on YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, we can put it in. We can watch it. You know, you give a little more backstory to it if you want.
Do you have the link?
I don't, but you can give it to me, and I can insert into the.
All right, sure.
Yeah, just DM it to me real quick.
Sure, I'll do that.
Slap it in.
Okay, let me find it. Mm-hmm. Here we go. Yeah, sorry, it's gonna take a little bit. Please hold.
No worries. We got all the time in the world. So yeah, we're gonna watch this. I've seen it already, but
there you go.
Check it out. All right, 1 second here.
Yeah, this is a very cool story. It's, of course, you see what I look like in real life, but I look very close to this.
Exactly. Hey, you're 1-to-1. You know, I can't say the same about my avatar.
Pretty much. Yeah. So, and also, you will know my real name, so please be careful.
You know, it's okay, man. All right. I'm gonna put that in. Can you, can you like put the camera off of me? Because when I move, it's gonna, derp out like this. Just put the camera on, I guess Genesis or somebody. Just zoom it out. Yeah, there you go. Good enough.
Yeah. So this is I'll just do a little pre-intro. So this is the story that aired back in March. You will see where it's performed, and of course a little bit about me and the story behind it. So we're ready to put that on.
Yeah. It's loading.
New at 6, a man bringing the fun of Jeopardy to seniors across Massachusetts, but his love for the show goes beyond the game.
WBZ's Mike Sullivan shows us his unique connection to Jeopardy and his ongoing tribute to Alex Trebek.
For a game filled with answers and categories, Jeopardy has always provided questions.
What's Tetris?
Just never for Brett Bybel.
You have control of the board now. And kids' games, 1200.
It's almost like he was born to host the show.
Question, please. I've been watching the show since I was little.
He analyzes every mannerism.
Yes, Terry?
Trying to master the ways of the late Alex Trebek.
What's a spike? Spike, yes. And I've really been watching a lot of those older shows from the 80s and 90s, kind of emulating Alex's style.
You will find him hosting Jeopardy shows at local senior centers. It's an authentic, off-the-cuff performance, quite literally.
The suit, actually, was a charity sale furnished by Alex Trebek's estate.
Bybel purchased Trebek's suit for $600, every penny going to the American Cancer Society, honoring the late host.
The suit was show 8282, tape date 9/9/2020, and the air date was 11/17/2020.
We'll see it tomorrow, right?
Trebek passed away from cancer 9 days before the show made air. This future host has been carrying on his legacy since his conception.
My mother was actually on Jeopardy back in 1998.
From the Sony Pictures Studio.
She won a contestant search in Boston.
Ham.
What is Death Valley?
Right.
She was leading by 100 hours going into the last round, then the category messed her up.
Here comes the clue, players.
The category was geographic wordplay, which I had never seen before.
An Asian country containing the name of a Mediterranean volcano.
Was Vietnam, which contains Etna in the middle.
She was the only one to get it wrong.
It will cost you, $4,500.
She had said that if she had won, I probably wouldn't have been born.
If she had won, you wouldn't have been born?
Because things would have been different. She would have had to stay in California.
She would have competed in future shows. Instead, she came home.
My son Brett, who does these shows, was born 9 months later.
You could call him her consolation prize.
We'll select a category and a point value.
In Arlington, I'm Mike Sullivan.
And movies 800.
WBZ News.
Damn. Now, that's quite the story, isn't it? Let me put the camera back.
Yeah.
That guy. There you go. Thank you. So that's the news that you were talking about and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, just give me a second. Just putting up all the questions back on my stuff. But yeah, that's like you said, like you exactly have the same suit as in VR and everything like that. You literally are just like Alex Trebek, and you're doing all this.
Yeah, in a sense.
Yeah, and you're doing all this stuff, and it sounds like you know your stuff. Like you know the year, the date, everything. It shows a passion for Jeopardy and everything like that. Did you watch Jeopardy when you were really young, like as a baby, and you're like, "That's me. I want to do that."
Well, not as a young kid, but like around 2004 and 5.
Okay.
I've catch little snippets of it.
Okay. And so obviously in a sense, because your mom didn't win, you were born. That's an interesting side little plot there, like to think about, It's interesting to think about how life is sometimes. But I mean, you never know. You're still a young man. You never know. You could be a game show host one day in terms of not just VR chat, not just for senior citizens. Like you could be on the big screen if you really wanted to. Do you have any
maybe
aspirations to do that someday?
I hope so. Because I'm actually finishing college. I finished college actually. I'm going to graduate next week. So maybe if I pursue more graphic design, not graphic design, more telecommunications courses compared to graphic design, because that's what I did in college. I might try and pursue that and become acquainted with broadcasting, personal appearance, and stuff like that.
Yeah. I would recommend it. Broadcasting might be the way to go. I never took broadcasting. I just went for school to make websites, and then I ended up being a talk show host. So I just kind of fell into it. So, if I took broadcasting, it happens sometimes, But I just got better with experience. But sometimes you don't have to necessarily have a diploma to do something. I mean, it gives you a lot of back end sort of understanding of how something works and stuff like that. But I would recommend taking broadcasting, because even if you don't end up on the TV, you can always be on a radio talk show host as well. They do game shows on there as well. So
yeah,
exactly. And the way you could run it, maybe you could run like Jeopardy over the radio. Radio's still big. People are sitting in their cars, driving, when they're going to work. So
yeah,
there's always something.
Yep.
I gotcha. So, where do you see the game development going for VR chat in your own field or for other people? Do you think that games are going to get better and better as time goes on in VR chat?
That depends on whether or not we get what we need.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of features that are already coming out. Apparently Udon 2 is going to be a thing soon, which I think should probably slow down a bit.
Okay.
Because we're already getting used to Udon 1 with the new features we're getting for that. And also with people trying to learn this stuff over time, and SDK2 being deprecated pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because somewhere else will use it. But I'm learning to more or less. But if we get the tools we need to really kind of make what we need, game development will get better in VR chat. Even general worlds, we could do a lot more than what we do now.
I see. Are you excited for so besides Udon, any other VR chat updates you're excited for?
That's a tough one. I actually don't know. Yeah, I don't know right now. I haven't focused that much on the update side of things. I'm just used to what we have now.
Okay.
Frankly.
Yeah, sorry, I was reading chat. They're telling me something. So, do you have any so I'll give you an example. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. So example, before the show, I was talking about groups and stuff like that. So do you have a group that you run or host when you do game shows? Is there a group or maybe a Discord people can join where they'd be hey, I really want to play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with GSGenesis? Is there any type of community hangouts you do like that?
Yeah, we do them every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday in my Discord. Well, with my Discord community, you'll see the posters in my world. And you'll also see them in Drinking Night too, believe it or not. You'll see it among the posters on the wall for the Patreon ones.
Oh, yeah.
With the Discord link. And there's even a VR chat group I have now where you can join.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to try to make more use of it soon, where people have to be in the group or something like that in order to be part of these game show nights.
Yeah.
But we do them periodically. I'm not involved with them as much, but I try to be involved as much as I can nowadays.
Okay.
But it depends on what life throws at me. But yeah, we do them a lot occasionally during the week.
Okay, because I was curious. Because I remember I saw you like on VR chat, and you're like in the drinking world. I was like, is Genesis getting lit at the party? What's going on? It's like, no, you don't drink.
I do not drink. I don't think it's good for your body.
Oh, okay. Well, I drink occasionally. It's okay, once in a while. But I was curious.
Yeah,
I was like,
also doing it to help a friend I knew, fellow creator.
Oh, okay.
Act of kindness, yeah.
I gotcha. You don't have any vices. You don't smoke. You don't drink. Nothing like that. Okay.
Nope. Trying to keep my body healthy.
All right. Drinking the water. That's good for you.
Yep.
I getcha. Okay. What was the development process like for like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Any large hurdles you had to overcome?
That was pretty interesting because actually it was requested by a friend who made the Never Have I Ever world. We worked on it together, the first version, which I call the modern version, based on the kind of Jimmy Kimmel, Jeremy Clarkson set.
Yeah.
From 2018, 19, 20. And we worked on it together. We originally envisioned it being an automated world, but that kind of fell through at the last moment because we decided to make it like a very simple to operate game where you only get the buttons you need when you need them. You don't get too many of them at a time. We had the UI, and I got some coaching with that, and so that we had to figure out how to get the questions shuffled up, how to use them with SDK3, and I learned a lot of new stuff as well in Udon, which helped me with programming these variables and other stuff like that to really make the 1,000 question update I recently did for all 4 versions. I figured out how to do 50/50s accurately. That was a kind of an obstacle I had at one point, getting that to sync up and also not break the game. But I figured it out recently.
Okay.
Ask the audience how to get that to tally up. Phone a friend, ask the host, stuff like that, and also the camera angles. So those were all hurdles I eventually overcame. And it's very good to learn that sort of stuff as a world developer and content creator.
Yeah, I feel like with any world, there's a lot of hurdles. Like when I first started doing a talk show host, building my own world like 3 years ago before I had this one, it was filled with a lot of like, how do I do this? Like, how do I have cameras and how do I switch stuff? So now, I figured it out like 3 years ago, but now I don't work on stuff anymore. I just pay people that know more about it. But they always tell me it's quite the hurdles. And I remember, I think like with SDK3, a huge update came out with like the camera tracking, so you can have so for example, the camera's tracking my head bone because every avatar has a head bone, so it has like very specific cool little things you can do if you know how to do animations and a bit of programming.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're coming up on almost the 1 hour mark here. So we're going to be taking a little commercial break. Typically on Twitch, for those who don't know, every hour on the hour, Twitch plays ads. And normally for like when I'm streaming other things, it doesn't matter. But when I'm doing an interview, I always like to like pause the interview just for a couple minutes so people don't miss it. Because I want people who are watching, because a lot of people aren't subscribed. They're not subscribed. They don't get ads. Or yeah, sorry. If you're subscribed, you don't get ads. If you're not subscribed, which is most people watching are not subscribed, they get ads. And then they're like, I missed half the interview. So I like to purposely take an ad break, allow people to get some water, go to the bathroom, whatever. So we're going to do that real quick. So I'm going to hit the ad button. So give me a second here. And then we're going to play a Patreon ad. I'm going to do a little ad read for it. And then once that's over, then I'll let you know. So I have to like refresh it. Okay. Okay, awesome. And then we're gonna play this ad they have built into the world. Oh. All right, put the camera back on me, please and thank you. So, That was an ad that was made by Gray. She creates avatars which are all available, shown in this trailer. Check out her Gumroad at smallgray.gumroad.com. Also, thank you to all my Patrons for supporting me. And if you like an ad too, or want to support me, consider Twitch subscribing or use your Prime Gaming subscription. My Patreon is patreon.com/SoundRebel. Yeah, double up the ads. Exactly. So now we have to wait for like another minute or two. So while we're waiting, how do you feel, Genesis? How do you feel about the interview so far?
Good. Much more calm than I thought I would be.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people do feel nervous when they before the show or during it, and just think of it like I'm just asking casual questions, about who you are and what you do and stuff like that, and have a passion for. A lot of people always get nervous. Sometimes I get nervous. I'm like, oh snap. It is what it is. It's all human nature. But anyone wants to know anything, just put Patreon in the chat. If you have any questions for myself or Genesis, questions with an S. That way you can put your name in, you can put your question in, and we'll get to it in the next 10-20 minutes. And then point guess is also another way to go to Genesis' YouTube channel. Go check out his YouTube. And you can check out his video, Forbidden Fruit, the short film, and also a bunch of other stuff. You recorded and made some, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and I think Pressure Luck, and some stuff of, I think I recognized one of the people in there. Was TMF Johnny was part of one of your shows. So
yeah, the very first show.
Exactly. See, I did my research, So I was looking up. I was like, oh, nice. So you go check him out. And also you host some of the game shows for Rob's community. So what day is that specifically? Do you do that for him?
Usually Mondays or Tuesdays nowadays.
So it might be tonight then, technically.
Yeah, if I have the energy.
Yeah, after the show.
I'm sure I will.
You'd be like, I just got interviewed. I got to run a show.
Yep.
Yeah, I gotcha. All right, let me just take a quick peek at how long we have to wait for the ads. It is annoying, but welcome to Twitch, We got 20 seconds. Okay, that's perfect. Okay. Then we can start resuming. Okay. All right. Awesome. Ads are over. Great. So anyway, back to the show here. So what advice would you give to someone who's interested in game development for VR chat or falling into what you like to do? Is there any advice you would give to somebody who wants to be like a game show host or run events and stuff?
Well, there is. I remember I had this question once before at an XPR thing I did quite a while ago when my new human avatar debuted.
Yep.
And I made a whole event about it as well with them on how the passion is for world creating. So you have to find your passion, learn the software, and do what you want to do. You basically gotta learn this, and you gotta learn about what the demographic is for what people are interested in. If you're really going that road with the major world creation, but if you're doing it for a passion project, just find what your passion is. Don't overdo yourself. Take breaks. Figure out optimization and keep it simple.
Yeah. No, I gotcha. So I should have asked this earlier, but what's this where'd you make your avatar? Did you make it yourself, or did you use a program?
This is a Ready Player Me base.
Oh, okay.
It's Ready Player Me base, but I customized the textures to be like the actual suit I have. Well, actually, the suit I have is based on the avatar. I have the green and white tie referencing my color scheme for my logo, the red vest because red's my favorite color. Originally, it was dark gray for the suit.
Yeah.
But that changed to the dark blue because of the Alex Trebek suit I got.
Ah, I see. So you change over time. You adapt.
Yeah, in a sense.
Okay.
And the gold glasses are actually based on my Ray-Bans I have. Their prescription, of course, because I need to see somehow.
Yeah.
Kind of like the aviators you see in those movies. That's what I have.
I gotcha. Do you?
Except they're not sunglasses. Yeah.
So, when you're in VR, do you have to wear prescription lenses or contacts, or you just?
No, I just wear my glasses generally. My gold Ray-Bans are just in my headset right now.
Okay.
They have enough space.
You have enough space.
Yeah,
okay.
so it's all good.
Yeah, because when I wore my old glasses, I wore the big thick ones. I had the black on black Ray-Bans, and they just didn't fit. So I ended up just getting prescription lenses, and they're like $100.
Ah.
So
wow.
But biggest, I mean, all I had to do was put in my prescription into this website, and it took about, I think, a couple weeks, like less than a month, and then I got them, and I just put them on the headset. Wow, I can see again. I was like, whoa, now I can finally see in this game.
Yeah.
Or before everything was a little bit blurry.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, you already wear your glasses, so you're fine. But it's always I would say it's always a good recommendation. Or you can always get the other update, so you can change out what do you call it? The gasket, because I have like a leather one, because it comes with cotton, so you can get leather, you can get silicone, and then you can also get the fan attachment for the front, because the faceplate comes off and you can put a fan.
Yeah, the USB-A thing.
Yeah. So those are like the little bit of recommendations I always try to give to my guests and stuff like that, because if you spend a lot of hours in VR, you're probably gonna get sweaty. So having a fan blow directly into your eyeballs makes a whole lot of difference. Especially if you're getting crunk and getting wild on the dance floor, doing those dance moves,
Yep.
Maybe someday when you get full body, you can be dancing on the dance floor,
Maybe.
I gotcha. So, do you have a dream project or a game that you want to develop that can't because of the limitations of VR chat? Like, is there anything that you really want to build, but you're like, oh, I can't do it because I don't know how, or it's just not possible with the tools we have in VR chat?
That would be the Nickelodeon game shows like Legends of the Hidden Temple and Double Dare. The primary challenges being physical elements and the fluid physics.
Okay.
Because those are not really possible right now. Because you have to do a lot of physical exertion and movement and adaptive movement to really adapt it to VR chat, and that's not really possible right now unless we really work hard at it.
Yeah.
So like Double Dare and Legends are off the table until I can figure it out.
I understand.
No pun intended. Because Figure Out's another show. Figure Out's actually a simpler show I could do.
Okay. What's the story behind your name, GSGenesis? Is there like a story behind it?
Well, Genesis comes from an original character I made in a book, a little short story I worked on during my last years in school about this kind of like Star Wars G.I. Joe hybrid story that's kind of original.
Okay.
And the character's code name is Genesis, so that's where I got that from. And the GS, it used to be GF, standing for Game Family, because that's the old group I used to have on Steam and in Skype and Discord.
Yeah.
And I changed the F to an S to stand for Game Show, and that's where we are now. Early on in my VR chat career.
Makes sense. Have you ever met anybody else that runs like game shows in VR chat or events or?
Actually, yes. They're all my friends. I have Doma Fox, I have Tokens Arcade, Ninonoku to name a few.
Okay. And then
they all share the passion.
Yeah. Do they run? Do they run like similar shows, or do you all like run like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You take turns being the host.
Well, they usually use my worlds, but they also have made their own as well. Like Countdown and even Trivia Trap were made by other people. There's like Hot Potato, which is made by Doma Fox. Pyramid was made by Doma Fox.
Okay.
The $100,000 Pyramid, anyway. And there's also Card Sharks was made by him. But some sets on those I actually shared assets with. So, and I'm credited in some of those worlds, like Card Sharks and Pyramid, because some of the assets I used were used in those worlds.
Okay. Do you have any inspirations to like stream on Twitch, or do like?
I thought about it, but I kind of was a little unsure because I don't know how I can find time in my life to do Twitch. I usually just use YouTube.
Okay.
To like pre-record shows because it's easier to do it that way and edit it to be like a real show.
Yeah, makes sense. Do you have a job? That's why, like, you're just busy working.
Yeah, I work at a grocery store, needless to say. It's entry level, but it doesn't get a lot of money, but at least keeps the roof over my head.
Exactly. That's what's important,
Yeah, because also one thing I also have to mention is the money-making aspect of it, because a lot of these shows are licensed.
Yeah.
Like, actually copyrighted IP, so I can't make any money off it, no way.
Of course.
So, the passion project, I just do it for free, no asking for money, no Patreon.
Yeah.
So, just to keep the legal issues out.
Yeah. Makes sense. No, because the reason why I was asking these specific questions is because there are people on Twitch that make their own shows. Like, they run their own type of game shows. So I don't know if you watch like specific YouTubers or streamers. These are unrelated to VR chat. One of them was Ludwig. He's a really popular. He used to be a Twitch streamer. He bought a contract with YouTube, and he used to run a show called Mogul Mondays or something like that. And he used to run a bunch of game shows. And he has his own studio and everything. Like, I think he's told, like, he said like it cost him like $250,000 per episode or something like that. And he's just a YouTuber, and he was just running game shows. And then another person was XQC, which is one of the larger Twitch streamers, but he ran a talk show called Juiced. So you never know, that could be you someday. You know, you just make your own show. And then you could be the host of it and have people show up, you know, IRL. I think they'll do the shows in like LA or something, but probably like very expensive. But
yeah, a lot of Hollywood productions, like where the real shows are taped.
Exactly. Oh, there's other events too, like what was that show? Like G4, if you ever watched that.
I've heard of it.
So G4 is all about like geek culture and stuff like that. It's basically where they talk. It's where like before YouTube was even a thing, you would watch G4 on TV and they'll talk about like the latest, newest video games or whatever. But they also had like game shows and like little silly little things like that on there as well. So you never know. Like, well, the G4 canceled again. They revived it on Twitch and for TV, but then it got canned again because it wasn't making enough money or like profits or you know, stuff like that. Which is rough.
Yeah.
Because that's just how sometimes things work. Oh, you don't get enough points. You know, then they cancel the show and move on because they don't want to, you know, spend time and money on
ratings
something.
And demographics and stuff like that, like, can drive a big factor in whether or not you continue your show.
That's right. It's rough. Unless, like, that's why I think Twitch is where you could, if you had time, take off. Because there's even people that make sort of like almost like their like version of a show. So there's Mizkiff, he runs 2 shows. One of them's called Parasocial. It's basically where like it's like 2 teams of 4 streamers on 4 streamers, all in Discord, not like being IRL, and then they just sort of trying to figure out what, like, oh, what's the blank, fill in the blank. It just gives you the first letter and they have to figure it out. Kind of like, I guess in a way, his own version of like Family Feud in a way. And then he ran a show called
Our Match Game.
Yeah, Our Match Game. And then he also ran a show called Schooled, which is basically like Who Wants to Be Smarter Than a 5th Grader. And he did that show as well. And that's over Discord as well. So like there are streamers. Now these are people that are like, you know, way up here, like beyond me. But like, you know, they run game shows and they just do it over Discord and they make their own little things for copyright reasons. They have to like change up the way it works and stuff. But, you know.
Yeah.
It could be something for you someday. Or, you know, I wanted to do game shows for Discord as well at some point. So I'll think of something, you know, kind of like some sort of trivia game I could do, like a one-on-one type of thing.
Yeah, actually, I can talk about that briefly because it actually is one I am working on to present at senior centers.
Okay.
It's an original format and it's called Cops and Robbers.
Okay.
Basically, I made it based on the VR chat style in the Unity game engine as a standalone app. You plays on 2 screens, and basically it's a one-on-one game. How it works is like Jeopardy combined with the old Barry Enright shows like Tic-Tac-Toe and Joker's Wild. You have a big board of 5 categories, 4 rows of numbers, and you pick a number and a category, you read a question, give the answer, and you reveal what's behind the box. It can be money that goes into an accumulative pot. Yeah, and you have to find 2 of your colored keys as the cop or robber to win the pot and the game. There's a bonus round as well. So I'm working on that recently. I might try that over Discord at some point now that I think of it.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about that.
Yeah, Discord is where it's at. Like I said, I want to like start doing more Discord things. Take this talk show to Discord so I have more outreach, you know, because I'm just sort of in VR chat. But if I do it over Discord, I can reach as many people as I want. So that's what I'm doing. But anyway, what is something you would like people to do more in VR chat in general? Do you want more people to like check out your worlds? Do you want more people to, you know, build game modes, like check out, explore, be more social? Is there anything that you would like people to do in VR chat?
I like just people to have like be themselves and be kind and compassionate. That's all I really want. Because whatever worlds they visit is up to them.
Yeah.
And I really just hope people are more friendly and more compassionate and overall more caring in VR chat, because there have been a lot of people who have been very toxic. Some of them I've witnessed firsthand. But overall, at the end of the day, it all depends on the person. And overall, I hope compassion as a passion project drive people more to be more friendly and more compassionate and empathetic towards others. That's all I want.
I can agree 100% on that. What is your biggest compliment someone has given you about your worlds or content?
That's a tough one. I think I can find that. So there is a YouTuber named Drumsy who actually does a lot of game show stuff in VR chat and has actually used some of my worlds.
Okay.
And I recently met him. Like last year, I think he reached out to me through Discord and VR chat and was like, "Hey, you want to talk about stuff someday?" I said, "Sure." And he really appreciated the work I've done. It meant a lot to him and to his friends and to me. And I actually made a world for him for use in a video based on that Guessy item format, custom made just for him. And it was really cool. And especially seeing his friends play, and I've reached out to some of his friends. So like Illy the Kitty, recently I became friends with, and she really loves the work I do as the real game show stuff, like Match Game a Millionaire. Because the Modern Millionaire was actually used in that rigged game show video that Drumsy did for her.
Okay.
Which is very nice.
Heck
So that's probably the biggest compliment I've ever gotten.
Do you find that that happens often? Like, do you find like big streamers or YouTubers use your worlds and then they collaborate with you to like make a custom game show or like a privated version of it that they could use?
That does not happen too often. I usually just hop around and find people to socialize with and then figure out what to do from there. TFM Johnny, as you know, big streamer, singer, dancer, music maker.
Yeah.
Really nice guy. And he's actually on my first video I ever made of the Jeopardy episodes. Excuse me. And so he was a really nice contestant there. So he won $20,000 fictional dollars. There was also Eiley Monty was on the later episode. Know her very well.
Yeah.
Who else? There's a lot of other friends on there too, but not a lot of famous people really reach out too often because of their busy schedules.
Yeah.
But I allow for compromise and planning ahead when it comes to organizing game show events for others.
That's very generous of you to like want to help people out and just want to run events and stuff like that. You don't see that too often.
Yeah, it's basically from the kindness of my heart. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any final words you'd like to say to everybody watching? Because we're going to be taking audience questions soon and wrapping up within like 5-10 minutes.
Well, basically, it's all good. But basically, when it comes to world building, just be yourself. Be compassionate about what you do. Just let your passion drive your work. Don't overdo it. Take breaks. Figure out optimization. But basically, follow the steps needed to make your worlds a reality. Just common sense, your passion. Basically, anything that drives you in real life can drive you in VR. And I hope that it encourages people to make other worlds like what we've made. And that's basically it.
Okay. So we're going to take some audience questions. And we have a question from the Google document. It's from RManIXR. I don't know if you know that one or a person. Okay. But the question is, question for GSGenesis. Game shows have evolved with the times and new technologies. What do you see as the future of game shows, or would you like to see?
Basically, a lot more like immersive style technologies. Like, I know there's one called Limitless Win in Britain that uses a very like scaling set post production. Like, so like there's like a bottomless floor and a topless ceiling.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that in America would really make a lot of people like wow factors involved.
Okay.
Basically something like that, like a lot more technology, like advanced technology, like kind of like you see like video floors and OLED screens and a lot of advanced production quality. That's what I see as the future.
Okay. Anybody have any questions in the audience here? Bill, Lance, or Lily Rose? You have any questions? No? Okay. Do you have any questions for me, GSGenesis? Do you have any questions that you want to ask me? I've had you on the spot for an hour. You can ask me anything. You don't have to if you don't want to.
It's all good. It's okay. Let me just think of a good one. But actually, there is one question I'm trying to find the words for.
Okay.
But what game shows have you thought of making when it comes to what you like to do?
Okay, so when I wanted to run a game show in VR chat here specifically, I wanted to run like Family Feud at some point. But my idea was to have like in this world and have my own sort of spin on it. The other thing I wanted to do was like a dating game show. And the idea I had which I don't mind giving out now because I'm probably not going to do it anyway because I'm busy doing VTubing things, is I wanted to have like a stage here, and then it's going to have a curtain that goes all the way down. And the idea is there'd be one like bachelor or bachelorette, and it'd be like 5 or 6 people on the other side of the curtain. And the idea is the bachelor will ask a question, and then the curtain will raise only to like their feet, and then higher and higher and higher. This is actually exists on YouTube on like some sort of dating shows or whatever. But the idea why I wanted to do in VR chat was because everyone has different avatars. So before you even get to see their avatar, you get to know who they are as a person, like their personality. And then as the questions, increase or whatever you want to go progress for the show, the curtain raises and higher and higher and higher to the point where you can eventually see who they really are. So just a little idea I had like that for like a dating game show. Now for Discord, I could probably like have my own spin on like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or something like that. Instead of giving out $1 million, which I can't do, I could give out like Twitch subs. If you get all the way through, maybe you get like 100 gifted subs, which is $500. So stuff like that I could do, or have my own little like Would You Rather, or which is like a very simple game idea, or press the button. It's like, would you press the button? If you did this, just simple little quirky little things I want to do with interviews.
All good. But yeah, so I actually could make something like that if you wanted. And you obviously don't have to pay me for any of this if you don't want to, but I could work something up like based on your concepts, because I do it basically for like a hobby, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you.
So I could work something out.
It could be something I use, or it could be something that Rob uses. It'll always get used by somebody at some point. Yeah, it's just a simple like dating show idea, because like I think I saw it on like, I don't know what it was, BuzzFeed or something. Basically, the idea was it was like a bunch of people like at a convention, like cosplayers, and like behind the curtain a bunch of cosplayers, and all they could see was their feet, and then the next question it raised to like their thigh, then like I don't know, their hip, and then their waist, and then their head. So it made you start wondering, did the person like, because sometimes love is it comes at first sight. So like, do you like the person because they are attractive, or do you like them because they have a good personality? And you can always throw some silliness into it, where you have one of the avatars just basically be Shrek, or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
It's the VR chat way, so you can always just mess around with it.
Yeah, because I don't really have a lot of new projects, so I could work on something like that again.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too complicated. It's a very simple, just concept of just raising a curtain, and then you just ask a bunch of questions about whatever,
Mm-hmm.
And then after each like segment, you have to eliminate somebody. That's the other segment. So like, you would have to like, let's say there's 5 or 6 people, and then they have to eliminate 1 or 2 after each question. So like, if the person answers and you didn't like the question, you're like, oh man, that person was in like a 10 out of 10 Giga Chat avatar, or like a whatever. Damn, I could have had that. And at the very end, the idea is like the role play element was that you would take them on a date somewhere, in VR chat. I don't know, go to a great pug or something.
Yeah.
So if you end up going with Shrek, then I guess you got a stream going on a date with Shrek,
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of like a blind date.
That's it for questions for me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I can check the document real quick, see if there's anybody else that has squeezed in a question.
Yeah.
Nope. But we're gonna be wrapping up here in a sec. But I appreciate for stopping by and being a part of this, Genesis. Thank you.
Anytime.
Yeah, thank you so much. Again, you can check out Genesis' YouTube channel. Just go to guess in the chat, links to your YouTube. Do you plan on like adding more videos? Because I think the last one was the
last one was Forbidden Fruit.
Yeah, that was like 2 months ago.
I'm working on another episode of Press Your Luck right now for YouTube. It's episode 5, hosted by one of my friends. So I'm working on that as we speak. But I hope to stream out more content for YouTube at some point. I just gotta find the time to do it, because I need to be in VR to record the episodes.
Yeah.
Which takes a lot of energy, but I gotta find the time to do it. So we'll see what happens.
No, that makes sense. Well, I appreciate everything that you do, man, and hopefully have a good rest of your day / night. And Thank you, everybody.
You
Shout
too.
out to GSGenesis. Go check out their YouTube channel and go check out their worlds. Just type in GSGenesis. You can check out Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, Press Your Luck. All these amazing, awesome worlds. Thank you so much. If you'd like to hit up the stream outro, please and thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to go raid somebody, and then we're going to take a photo together once they raid somebody and in my stream. And then you're free to go.
Yep.